Hello, everyone. For the first time live and in living colour, to Link to the Cast Game of the Year, the 2023 edition. This is very surreal, I have to say. The most special time of year, and for the first time ever, we're doing this fucking thing in person. So let's see how it goes. I'm your host for Game of the Year, Dave Ryan, and I'll introduce the panel around me now in a second. Garrett Kidney, away on assignment this year. We miss you, brother. Won't be the same without you. Xenoblade ain't winning anything this year for a start.
There was some DLC this year as well, and that's not getting.
I'm a little bit worried for Liza P in some categories as well. But look, we'll do our best without you. Anyway, let's start with the panel. Firstly, to my right, Limerick's favourite son, it's Barry Murphy. Barry, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. All the better for being here in this in parts unknown in our brand new studio. Looking forward to doing this every week, coming together.
Definitely in the budget.
The rent on this studio is through the roof, but as the viewers can tell, I mean, it's a hell of a setup. So,
it's definitely a studio, not a kitchen.
Absolutely not. No.
It's weird because you're the only person in the room I haven't recorded in person anything with ever.
Is that really?
Yeah, I think we've both been on when people used to record podcasts outside the Tivoli.
That was going to be my immediate go-to. Was we were probably on the same episode of like the two Sarahs back in the day.
Yeah, or Alan has pointed a microphone at us while we're standing outside somewhere before.
Or outside, somewhere in Germany in an industrial estate. We've probably been on the same, but also not at the same time. Probably separate segments. So actually, end of an era there.
Think of the value you're all getting for this now that we get to do this in person.
Speaking and just 20 quid is all this we're charging them for this.
Per episode.
I mean, I'd get that fucking train, you know what I mean?
Yeah, damn right. Trains don't pay for themselves. I learned recently you can't get on those things for free. They won't let you do that. Joining me to my left, himself, Mark Robinson. Mark, you said this today. You said in 2015 when we started this podcast, who knew that all these years later we'd be driving down the M7 blinded by the sun?
I'll tell you what.
To Game of the Year.
I knew it was in the stars, written, some might say. If you're watching the video feed, please do enjoy the specifically branded Link to the Cast mugs. Not available anywhere.
What are you plugging for?
To just enjoy them. He just said enjoy them.
Just enjoy them, exactly.
If anything, if you're not watching...
Merry Christmas, everyone. Look at the things we have.
Yeah. If you're not watching, you're probably better off not seeing a mug.
But do you know what? Maybe some people watch and maybe they will want one. And maybe...
Possibly.
I'll tell you who the real mugs are. Them for not having one.
Exactly. Hey. I'm very well, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. Surprisingly, everything has gone a lot smoother than... because it's usually when you do stuff in person, you got technical stuff going on. Something is going to go wrong, but so far, we're all good.
Oh no! Why did you say those words out loud?
The only thing that's gone wrong,
because it's not sports, so we're okay. All right.
Oh dear.
The only thing that's gone wrong on the Game of the Year retreat so far is that somehow 4 tech-savvy adult men forgot. 3 of them forgot a HDMI cable.
Yep.
Someone came in clutch.
Barry came in clutch.
That's why we bring it back every year.
I think he brought all the things to plug into the HDMI so we can like relax and enjoy ourselves when we're not recording. And I was like, oh yeah, the thing that makes that happen. No, not so much. Rounding us out, of course, the producer extraordinaire, Mr. Chelsea, the Sidona simp, Jack Lazell. Jack, how are you?
I am the opposite of Mark. I am terrified that something's going to go wrong. Having ported quite a lot of gear over the Irish Sea and into parts unknown in the middle of the Irish countryside. In fact, if you were to step outside right now, it's literally like stepping into sheer darkness. There is nothing around us for miles.
Streetlights haven't made it out here to this undisclosed location.
Yeah, genuinely.
Are we saying parts unknown?
It is parts unknown. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
exactly.
Definitely. I feel like we are in parts unknown.
Yeah, us and just chilling with the Ultimate Warrior here.
Yeah, and there goes Kane and
Although I did notice just before we put the red lights on that we've been idiots because all night you guys have been getting in and out of the car in the pitch black out there. There's a gigantic porch light.
Oh, okay.
The whole outside lit up like Christmas once I hit it, so we're all good.
We'll know for next year. I mean, next week.
Yep.
We have one little question that I always like to ask you guys before we discuss the rules of engagement, and that is about your backlog. Are there any things that are sticking out to you guys that you wish you'd gotten to this year that either didn't make it to your final voting or you maybe didn't get in enough of, feel like maybe would have made some categories here or there? I'm going to switch it up a little. I'll start with Mark.
I'd say probably I mean, if I'm being perfectly honest, I never gave a shit about playing Baldur's Gate 3, so I'm not going to include that. I'd say maybe...
Sean just switched off.
It's so early.
Down one listener already. Okay.
Maybe Star Wars. I haven't played a single second of that, so that's probably the biggest one. I have... Between the time of like the ballot going out and now, I've played a bunch of Armored Core 6, and that probably would be in for a shout for a couple of contenders. So I'm glad I've at least got a bit of time into that one.
You liking Armored Core makes me think I should probably try it, because the thing I was always turned off by the Armored Core games was like, even if you like Souls games, you will find it imperceptible.
It's this whole other thing. Yeah,
it's really not that challenging.
I'm wondering, is it a different side of brain thing where it's like it is frustrating and complicated in entirely different ways?
Because the thing is, I went into it thinking, all right, this is going to be like a Soulsborne game, but with mech.
Gundams.
With Gundam, yeah. And it's really not. It feels a lot more kind of action orientated, but in a kind of spectacle sort of way compared to the kind of methodical, sluggish isn't the right word, but it's that kind of deliberate pace of like a Soulsborne game. Yeah. But I guess the thing that people find imperceptible is like the amount of like gear that you have to work with, from like your head to your core to your weapons. But it's not that, like, I've played far more complicated games, or games that have far more in terms of like customization. So I don't think it's that bad. The biggest challenge I found with it is I've been stuck on this boss for about 3 hours, because it's you against some like giant flying fucking scaffolding thing that at some point decides, by the way, my arms are made of like flamethrowers and I'm going to start just wrecking you.
Yeah.
So it's way more like frantic than a like a Bloodborne or whatnot. It's dope. I'm looking forward to spending more time with that over the new year. So that's probably the biggest omission. And probably I would have liked to play more of the RoboCop game as well, because the RoboCop game is pretty sick as well. So yeah, they're the big two, I guess, for me.
For me, I think the big outstanding one is Baldur's Gate 3. That I've stuck like 10 or 12 hours into it, and like I'm pretty high on it, but like I can't even say after 10 to 12 hours that I'm anywhere near able to talk about it authoritatively. So yeah, that's my big one. Jack.
Yeah, so for me, in terms of playing, it would be Alan Wake 2. So I watched a lot of Alan Wake 2. I think to like genuinely, if I wanted to talk it up or say there were things about it that I didn't like, X, Y, and Z, I feel like I would have had to have played it properly. I dabbled with Baldur's Gate because I was like, am I going to play this? But the sort of dice roll mechanic element to it kind of put me off just a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's not because I'm not, it wouldn't be a D&D nerd. I'm just having the wrong friends group away from being a massive D&D nerd.
Yeah. I relate to that. Yeah,
like
for sure.
we grew up and we were in a band together and stuff, and we were fucking, me and Mark and a couple of other guys, Matt Nine and Matthew Biggs, hello. We were super nerdy about that. But yeah.
I actually did my first D&D campaign over the last like 2 months.
Really? A friend of mine's trying to get me into it. Yeah. Funnily enough, based on conversations around Baldur's Gate. Yeah.
And that same thing.
And that like probably shocks people because, I do consider myself quite a nerdy person that I've never really got involved in it. Like as far as I've gone is like watching the D&D episodes of Community.
Jack, in fairness, like our replacement for that was an incomprehensible amount of Mario Kart 64 that we played.
But it's one of those big things that like to get into it in a serious way is like the amount of nerdy kind of hobbies we already have, like it always felt to me like it would be so time consuming to get into it, that I know a lot of things about it I love, and I know this maybe not the last time I mentioned it on the show, but Disco Elysium, when I played that, like playing a game like that's an RPG with a dice roll mechanic, that kind of helped break that down for me as a thing that I would have said no to beforehand, but now I'm kind of like, I'll give it a go.
Hey guys, can I tell you about this really great game called Citizen Sleeper that was fucking robbed last year?
Here we go.
I'm not bitter about that at all.
Yeah, go back to sleep there, Citizen.
I feel like I was trying to get you to back me on Citizen Sleeper, and you were like pulling in a different direction.
Don't even fucking... No. My problem last year is I fucked myself by trying to argue against Live Alive. That's the issue.
Also, I believe that was the category. It was the best character of the year where you actually voted against Lemon Mina and you voted for Odin.
Yeah.
It's funny because I was thinking about the dynamics of Game of the Year, and the funny thing is, I feel like me and Mark are often the dissenters on the majority picks, but the thing is, we're always dissenting with other. We're never aligned on what you and we're both going our own
Genuinely,
things.
if you two teamed up one year, you could take over Game of the Year.
Because I think that happens.
Hasn't played Alan Wake, so I'm not fucking getting my hopes up for this year.
I think the dynamic has happened a lot. Like a dynamic I've noticed listening back to a few of them is you and me. When we align on something, like we were
the Last of Us 2 guys.
Yeah.
The heel turn that you did on me a few years ago, Barry, it still hurts me to this day.
Was that the Psychonauts year?
Yeah.
I mean, we were all in on that. That was a horseman beatdown if I've ever seen one in my life.
Was. Barry, what about you? What's your backlog like?
I mean, I'm kind of with you on Baldur's Gate in that I've put a dozen or so hours into it. I'm really digging it, but my thing is it's not my genre of game, and so I've only been able to play it in drips and drabs. So I feel like that's probably the biggest omission collectively here. Because I really like it. I'm not going to fight for it and anything, because like you said, I'm not far enough in, and it's not really my genre. So I'm with you on that one.
I think there's a world in which, had we the time, like maybe it would have been
if
really
we got to
high.
do this as like an actual job for a living.
Yeah. Because I know, like with Mark, so like Mark, you said before on the podcast, like swords and sorcery stuff is sometimes a bit of a turn off to you.
A bit.
But like, I don't know if it is for you in the same way.
No,
I
mean, the thing that more put me off is more, I'm a bit of a philistine when it comes to like, not this bullshit of every game having RPG elements, like real RPGs. I haven't played too many real ass fucking RPGs, because that's the thing about Baldur's Gate. Not just the dice rolling, it's the character building, it's the classes. There's a lot. It's thick.
Have you gotten the condescending from people that when you say, "Oh, I played this RPG," they're like, "Barry, that's not an RPG."
Yes. Yeah. And when I talk to people about Baldur's Gate and they're asking me about my classes, I can barely remember who I am or what I'm playing as, you know. So that's I'm with you on that one. Other than that, I don't think there's too many big. Metroid Prime Remastered is a big omission for me. I just didn't get around to it. Octopath 2 I did want to give a go to, and then by the time I was considering that, we got into crazy autumn time where 10 million things came out. I think those are probably the big two I would say that I didn't get around to, and Final Fantasy, because I'm not a Final Fantasy guy generally. So
well, good, because it wasn't really a Final Fantasy.
Well, this is the thing, so maybe I should have played it.
You might
have liked it. Yeah.
I guess with that out of the way, it's time for the rules of engagement.
Oh, here we go.
Okay, so Game of the Year 2023. Each person was allowed 10 nominations per category. With the exception of our Best Game of Not This Year award, the only games that qualify for any category are games that received their full 1.0 release in Europe for the first time between the 1st of the 1st 23 and the 1st of the 12th 23. Games receiving multiple nominations automatically shortlisted, the remaining slots on the list awarded as fairly as possible to passion projects and one or other objective contenders. At the top of a category, once I've read out the list of nominees, anyone is allowed to throw in a last-minute audible, Psychonauts, and add a game to the list that they hadn't initially nominated or didn't get to finish by December 1st. In deciding our winners, we take it in turn to strike a game off the list until we arrive at a winner. Members of the panel can contest a strike by either arguing their case or offering an alternate game to take its place on the chopping block. Because we argued about it so much in 2016, we reserve the right to split the best soundtrack category if we're locked between an original composed soundtrack and a curated soundtrack of pre-existing music. In the event of a hopeless deadlock in a category, we will turn to the results of the Link to the Cast tiebreaker poll, where the remaining game on our list that received the highest number of votes will be declared the winner. Game of the Year is the only category for which we settle on an ordered list of first, second, and third. Finally, listeners beware. Heavy spoilers for all nominees will take place from this point. You have been warned. Now, before we start fighting, there is a discontinued category that we didn't fully bring back this year. But Mark, I think in particular, you felt strongly that we needed to do some sort of roll of honour reminiscent of the former award that we stopped after 2021. The Randy Pitchford Award for people in video games being trash was the final version of how we worded that award.
I mean, I think it's fair to say this year, it's kind of been the common consensus now that this year in terms of video games has been an exceptional year. This year in terms of the video games industry has probably been one of the worst on record.
Brutal.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think we used the line maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and every year it's been more true since. Whereas like this year, a banner year for our souls. So we're gonna kind of I'll just do a whistle stop mention of 10 nominees in the category that Mark angrily scrawled together at the end of our notes here. And if anybody wants to stop me, please do so, but be aware we're going to be sitting in these chairs for a long time, so maybe let's not get too polemic on things. So industry-wide redundancies, Embracer Group. So one of those, like, you just need to say Embracer Group, you don't need to get into it in much detail. Unity's runtime fee.
Well, Unity are lucky this isn't an actual award this year, let me tell you.
Dookie Dash. Mortal Kombat's $10 fatalities before Barry's going to come out with a chair at that one. Lord of the Rings Gollum. Yes.
Oh, Christ.
The Fall of the Escapist. Just making it in. Well done, Escapist. You just made it.
Yeah.
The closure of Waypoint, very sad for this year. Silent Hill Ascension, opposite of sad. But in the original, it was called the Konami Corner Award. How perfect was it that Konami came roaring back in 2023?
And like a year ago, it was like they did their Silent Hill broadcast, and it was like, it might be back, right? It might be. We might be. Oh man, it's so not back.
It's so bad. When you have to release a statement going, "No, this wasn't scripted by AI."
Is the Silent Hill 2 remaster scheduled for next year?
I think so.
It was. They've never said a date, but it was largely rumored for this year, and then it has slowly been pushed back. I think achievements started leaking online, so people are thinking first quarter next year.
It's fair to say that like Silent Hill 2 remaster will be on this list next year.
Maybe it'll be great. You don't know that.
Yeah.
By the way, I just played Silent Hill 2 for the first time this year. Have you guys heard of this fucking Silent Hill 2?
I know, right?
It's pretty fucking cool, man.
This James dude, he went through some shit.
Oh, man.
Right? Yeah. And finally, the PlayStation Portal.
Yes.
Which I think is it's my favorite funny piece of tech in many years, because every time I see it on Twitter or wherever else I see it, it's people trying so hard to justify why they bought it.
But the thing is,
it's like, look what it can do. It's like, yes, but why do you want it to do that?
Look what it can do, but look what it can't do.
Yeah.
It can't be a console.
They just built like 1 or 2 additional things into it.
Yeah.
It would have been a viable product.
This man is sitting here over on Vita Mountain looking vindicated in hindsight.
My stance when they revealed it remains the same now, which it would have been less risky to just do a new Vita, like an actual console.
Yep.
Which I wouldn't even recommend. I don't know if Sony wants to get in that, but better than this thing. I just, oh man, what a clunker.
Yeah. Right. Shall we get into our first category, my friends? Ooh. Here we go.
Well, actually, is there one last bit of, because we're going against Mr. Keeley, and do you want to make mention of what is or isn't considered a 2023 game?
Oh.
We
want to have that discussion.
No. We don't have to have a debate. I just wanted to say, just to clarify, in case people, why isn't this in blank? That Resi 4 is considered a remake, and it's in the remake category. But that's why it's not in anything else. Just in case people are listening and going, wait a minute.
Yeah, we've got that.
Because Keely's going off the reservation.
Keely, between that and the indie game thing, I was like, I thought that's what you were going to get into.
Yep.
Indie is just like saying vibes. Like it's just a catch-all, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of become like what happened with indie music, where it became a genre rather than a fact.
Are we going to have landfill indie games?
Yeah, exactly.
They exist.
It's like plenty of those.
Have you been on the Switch eStore lately?
Good lord.
Slowly cozy is.
I think an even funnier version, like when you go to this on sale tab, because like all these like shithouse shovelware developers have figured out that we can just put the thing on sale and it'll pop up right at the top.
I'm pretty sure I've seen, every time I go into the Switch eShop and I go to the discount section, there's like Siberia 1, 2, and 3 I've seen on there like every day for the last 4 years.
It's so weird that of all the companies, Nintendo seem to have the laxest.
It's wild, isn't it?
That makes no sense, right?
Yeah, well, it's more if you think of how Nintendo has always viewed the internet, it makes a bit more sense than how they view quality control.
Although I was navigating the Epic Store for their Black Friday sale recently, and they're not quite on the level of Steam, but there's a lot of Sex Haver 2023 on there and shit like that. And
bought that shit, did you?
Well, 33% coupon. Do you know what I mean? I mean, like, so.
Well, 2022 wasn't patched very well.
I was reading about the Steam sales charts at some point, and like erotic novels and that kind of shit like sells really well.
Really well, yeah.
Has Mills and Boon gone online?
and considering the Epic Game Store is losing how many fucking millions per year, I'm pretty sure they're very happy if they sell nothing but erotic novels.
I want Mills and Boon VR games.
Oh my god.
I want like VR Fabio getting hit in the face with the fucking seagull. That's what I want.
I mean, Seagull Simulator.